Now, keep your texts and your comments coming in. I'll get through them throughout the show regarding disciplinary matters at school. The generation who did get disciplined in school are a lot nicer people than those now that haven't been disciplined. I find I'm in my 30s, so I'm not biased. I don't know if I'd agree with you on that, texter. Damien, my mother's car stopped yesterday outside the presentation secondary school. She was in an awful state and was holding up the traffic. Just wanted to say a big thank you to 2 women who stopped to help her. She never got a chance to thank them properly yesterday. So if you're one of those 2 women, well done and fair play to you. Damien, on the strike at UHW, the pictures that came out in light of the hospital are 100% from yesterday. They're from inside the hospital because I took the pictures. I can't give my name because of my job in the hospital, and it's not the full picture because there was a patient in a bed waiting to get an x-ray. I can't show the picture because of full patient confidentiality. This is the first time I've ever seen this yellow clinical waste bags being thrown on the floor. That's the reason I took the pictures. Hospital management really need to up their game and sort this out, and people should support the cleaners. Thank you. That is in from a texter. Another texter in saying the cleaners is a very important strike. It's a fight against the race to the bottom. Excellent coverage on the strike issues on WLR. Damien, well done, and everybody in Deise today. Thank you very much. Keep your texts and comments coming in. Now we're going to go to one of the most important issues in the world at present. European stocks fell by around 2.5% this morning. In China, the government announced another consecutive fall of new cases, 433 new confirmed coronavirus infections, 29 new deaths. Iran has said its death toll has now reached 22, 141 confirmed cases. South Korea announces 505 new cases, bringing its tally to 1,766, including a US military soldier stationed in the country. And the US has confirmed that a Northern California person contracted the coronavirus while travelling outside the US. So there's possibility of it happening in the US. Now, regarding South Korea, this is very important. There is a young Waterford man. He's from Cappoquin. His name is Evan McGrath. He's 28 years of age, former senior hurler on the Cappoquin senior hurling team. He has been travelling around Asia and he's in Korea at the moment. He is in Seoul. I have been talking to him. The line is not great because it's on a WhatsApp phone, so you may have to listen a bit clearly to this. But this is Evan McGrath talking to me from Seoul in Korea in the last few minutes. Evan, good morning. How are you getting on? Or good evening. What time is it there in Seoul in Korea?
Hey, how are you getting on, David? Yeah, it's near 6 o'clock here, so yeah, the day's nearly over here. Yeah, so I'm actually just in my apartment in Seoul with the week off because the school is shut. So I'm actually in a Hagwon, a private school in Seoul, and yeah, the kids, basically 80% of the kids are after wanting refunds and stuff because obviously the virus is getting quite bad here and the parents don't want them to come, so I'm not sure what's going to happen next week based on whether we have school or not. So yeah, it's a bit worrying times here, but look, you can't look at too negative either. You have to look at the positives as well. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and your Cappoquin, is it? And when did you go over there? And tell me a little bit about Waterford and who's here in Waterford.
Yeah, so basically I'm actually teaching in Kinsale Community School, and I just took a year out to travel a bit of the world. So I did a bit of South America in June and July, and then I kind of came home to get the visa started in Korea, and I did a bit of Asia, Japan. I was there for the World Cup and the Rugby World Cup, and then the Philippines. And yeah, so I kind of decided to go to Seoul for to save a bit of money and stuff, to travel a bit more. So yeah, here I am. I'm here about 3 or 4 months. I'm actually only literally back from Vietnam there last Friday. So yeah, I've been travelling around Asia even though the virus has been happening. So I probably shouldn't have been doing that.
Tell us about the family here in Cappoquin.
Yeah, sure. My mother and father are a bit worried, alright. Caddy and Andrew, and then we have obviously Frida, Marguerite and Jamie who's up in Dublin, so yeah. And they're a bit worried. They're probably more worried than I am, to be honest about it. Yeah, here.
And what's it?
Too much about it.
Yeah, and what's it actually like? And I know you're on a WhatsApp phone because it's obviously difficult to talk to you otherwise. And thanks for talking to us. What's it actually like over there at the minute, Evan? In terms of are people all going around with masks? Is there disinfectant happened? Tell me, what's it like out there?
Yeah, look, I suppose everybody's quite worried, and a lot of people are staying indoors, and the price of masks are gone way up, and also hand sanitizers, and yes, quite difficult to get masks and stuff, and everyone's washing their hands and stuff. Yeah, so it is somewhat worrying times. But even though I'm off this week from the school, I'm kind of still going about my business, still getting subways and stuff. You can't really can't worry too much about it. If you get it, you get it. I think that's my philosophy anyway. Look, you can't live your life in fear either. So that's what I'm thinking. More related to the older people are more worried, I think, who have lung conditions and lung problems. So I think, and look, it's a small proportion. I'm in Seoul here, and it's Daegu. It's where it's more infected. That's 2 hours away. So in Seoul, there's little or no cases here compared to what the population of 10 million is. So yeah, I'm not too worried, to be honest.
Yeah, and are people wearing masks? Like, do you wear a mask when you go out, or are you just looking at others wearing masks?
Yeah, most people are, but I don't know. I just can't get used to them, to be honest. They're hard to breathe, and we were told when we were teaching that we should be wearing them, but I just haven't, to be honest. And some people are against masks, some people are for it. It depends, they say if you have it, it's good to have a mask on then to not infect anyone else, but hopefully my immune system will be strong enough maybe to fight it off. I don't know. Yeah, look,
you're fit.
Pros and cons, there's the hand sanitizers. Yeah, they're probably very good, and you're supposed to wash your hands, and I think the businesses are doing quite well out of that. To be honest, the prices are inflated and stuff. So yeah, look, it's everyone's opinion. There's a lot of people who are fear and they're not going out into the streets, while there's other people who are going about their business. I think the difference between Korea and China is at the moment, Korea have a very much open door policy where they're telling people to just keep going about their business and there's no real businesses shut. While in China, they shut off everything. But the problem is in Korea, I think the numbers are increasing quite dramatically every day now, so there's no right or wrong, I suppose, with this. I don't know. It's hard to know. So I'm in contact with my boss there today just to see what's happening, because if it goes on any longer, we were unpaid this week, so if it goes on any longer, I was telling her that maybe I'll go back home and maybe probably be a bit safer maybe. But look, we'll see. What happens. I'm not too bad.
How many people have died in Korea so far, or how many infections, how many cases are known, do we know as of today, Evan?
Yeah, at the moment it updates every twice a day, so it's 1,600, so at 10 a.m. it was 1,600, so I'm actually waiting for the next update. It's 1 hour away, I think. It kind of went up by 350, 400 cases today, so it isn't quite a lot, but I think my boss was telling me that I was in Daegu, where it's the epicenter of it, so it is what it is. I think there's overall, is there 12, 13 dead, I suppose, but like anything, if I go back to Ireland, I think it's going to be globally, it's going to be everywhere, I think, because Italy at the moment is getting hit quite hard as well, so, it's very difficult. You can't, as I said, you can't live your life in fear and worry too much about it,
Yeah.
It is what it is.
And have you been told, Evan, if you did come back to Ireland, you're not coming from a high-risk area at the minute, as you say, Seoul, but would they look at quarantining you if you came back, or have they said anything?
Yeah, that's the question. That's the question I have. Cause a lot of my friends and my family are saying, "Geez, you should come home now." And my boss was like, "See, we're getting paid probably in 2 weeks' time, and I was maybe hanging on till then." And I'm not sure. They had valid points. They were saying, it's. If you wait 2 weeks, the airports might be closed, and I had ideas maybe to go to somewhere in Asia where we have access to go to, maybe spend 2 weeks there and maybe quarantine myself there, maybe rather than Ireland, But as I said, I don't really fear getting it, to be honest. I'm not too worried. I hopefully my immune system will be strong enough. But I don't know the question. That question, I think my mother was saying maybe self-quarantine. I think you have to stay at home for 2 weeks, but then again you could infect your family as well, which I don't want to do that either, so it's much of a much, I think. Yeah,
it's hard to know what to do. Well, listen, mind yourself, and I suppose you want to say hello to everybody in Cappoquin and Waterford and all your friends.
Yeah, sure, look, I might be home sooner rather than later, so thanks a million for having me on anyway.
And that was Evan talking to us there, Evan McGrath. Evan, thank you very much for talking to us. Hello to Mammy and Daddy in Cappoquin and all the family. And as you heard from Evan there, he's perfectly safe and everything is okay at present. We want to wish him the very best. And any Irish people that are abroad at present, any Waterford people in particular, or listeners to this programme, keep in touch and let us know, please, what your situation is if you're in any of the areas or countries that are currently, I suppose, under, not quarantine, but in questionable areas. A text in, the chap's attitude can be a bit blasé, but he seems very safe, says this person. And that another text coming in. Keep your texts and comments coming in. We are going to hopefully go live to the strike at Waterford College of Further Education, the protest, I suppose you'll call it, next. And we're also going to talk to two very eminent people regarding lifesaving. You don't want to miss this. Now, in a second, I am going to bring you more of your texts regarding the strike at the hospital. Firstly, I'm going to go straight to the Waterford College of Further Education, or more pertinently to Parnell Street. Just outside is Kevin, a reporter. Kevin, good morning.
Morning, Damien. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Kevin, you're down there this morning. I believe you're not allowed onto the campus itself. Is that right?
That's right, Damien. Actually, rather fittingly, I'm standing right outside a stop barrier, which is kind of apt given what's happened this morning. We went into the Waterford College of Further Education. We were met by two of the council members, two brilliantly bright young women, brought us in, and we were supposed to sign in at the office in order to kind of clear our insurance, but we were told that the principal was in a meeting and wouldn't be finished until 12:30, so there was no chance of getting on campus. That's the situation as it stands.
No chance of getting on campus. And I got a text last night after I did my little video yesterday saying that any reporters or members of the media that wanted to go down to cover the strike or be there is to sign in, but effectively that any interviews are to take place off campus. From what you can see there, Kevin, are there many students protesting at present?
Yeah, there are. I mean, we kind of don't have a full view of it, but unfortunately a lot of the students came actually out to meet us, some of the photographers for the photo. And I won't even start to give an estimate, but there's a huge amount of them. I know that all the students were notified last night and this morning about the strike. They've gone on a walkout at 11 o'clock. They've left their classes over issues that they believe pertain to communication. They say there's a lack of communication between themselves and college staff. They say a number of students didn't receive their SUSI grants. Judging by what I've seen, some of the comments that I've been speaking to today, there's also issues over ID cards, students not getting their ID cards in time. Students that are stories of people that have gone for interviews for courses and the due process hasn't been gone through with the courses, so they've missed out, and also missed out on opportunities to enrol in other courses. So it seems the students aren't happy about the lack of communication at administrative level. And Damien, to be frank, the fact that the principal is as a meeting now as the students are protesting is probably it has let them down as well, I'd imagine.
Yes, Kevin, and the plan is to go back into class at 12 o'clock, I suppose. It's only a 1 hour protest, is that it?
It is. It's only a 1 hour protest. So at the moment, some of the members of the council are speaking. They're giving speeches at the moment, and there are rousing cheers going up in the background. I know it's in the distance, so you're probably not able to, you and your listeners probably aren't able to hear, but they're being given great support, and it seems that there's a real unity among the pupils here, the students here, for the action that's been taken. And
you're a young enough man. Could you not pretend to be a student and get in there, no?
No, I lost my ID card years ago, Damien, and I never went about replacing it. So unfortunately, that's not an option for me. But yeah, it is. I suppose it's great. It's great to see some student activism here, and there is great numbers for it.
Kevin Galvin, reporter, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Damien.
Thank you very much, there. Kevin Galvin there, reporting from the protest that's taking place down at the Waterford College of Further Education. Damien, regarding the strike in the hospital, people should get out and support the cleaners because they might need their support in the future. That is from Joe. Joe, I've been talking to quite a few people on the picket line. People don't take to the picket line lightly. They've talked about this for a long time. They've thought about it for a long time. A lot of women and men that have been in service cleaning for decades. First time on strike, some of them, others have been out before, but certainly they don't feel that they want to do this. They feel they're being forced to do it because of the situation there. And a lot of people are supporting them, beeping horns as they're passing by and giving them full support. So they believe that they are fighting for their rights. They believe they're fighting for future conditions and terms of employment. We still haven't got another statement in from Momentum. We have contacted them looking for a statement, and we haven't heard anything back from them yet. Willie from the Waterside has phoned up regarding food. He said he used to be on the road a lot and remembers a food truck where they only served bacon and cabbage every day. There was always lots of trucks outside it. Also a place in Kilcullen that only did mixed grills. There's too much choice on the menus now. Imagine going into a place and they only did mixed grills. Now, my father loves a good mixed grill, especially if it has a bit of liver on it. Myself, I wouldn't be a liver person in the morning now. I don't know if Julie be a liver person in the morning. Julie, no, she's shaking her head there either. Anybody like liver? Let us know. 083 333 975. Hannibal Lecter. Now a text in, I love lamb's liver with onions and mashed spud. That's from William in Dungarvan. Now I'm joined by two Michaels, Professor Michael Tipton, MBE, and also Michael from WIT. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Damien.
Good morning, Damien.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Are you going to win the Grand Slam?
That's a big question. Let's say yes.
Win the championship,
It
anyway.
will depend which England team turn up, the one that played in the semi-final of the World Cup or the one that played in the final. Ireland met the one who played in the semi-final, and it was a cracking game, but we'll see. We'll see.
They're going very well at the minute. Thank you very much for joining us, Professor Michael Tipton, MBE, and also we have Michael Harrison, WIT Professor.
Head of Department in WIT.
What is the department, Michael?
The Department of Sport and Exercise Science in WIT. It's one of the largest sport and exercise science departments in the country.
And what is your speciality?
We have a very broad range of specialisms in the department. We have nutrition specialisms. We have sport and exercise science. We have a specialism in physical activity, the development of physical activity policy and the evaluation of physical activity interventions. And we also have specialisms in our oldest courses in the recreation and sports management sphere.
I'm told that this man in front of you is quite a modest man. How important a man is he in terms of the talk he was giving?
Professor Tipton is a very, very accomplished UK academic. We are very fortunate to have him as a visiting professor in the department, linked to the Department of Sport and Exercise Science. He has a very, very long publication rate. He is obviously he wasn't awarded an MBE for no reason in terms of his contribution to society, and he is the editor-in-chief of a prestigious journal in the UK, Experimental Physiology, and we will put his talents to good use.
What do you think of that?
No pressure then. Follow that.
Follow that.
My area is extreme environmental physiology, so I'm a professor of human and applied physiology, and that does include things like altitude and heat and etc. But my first love was cold water immersion, and of course that's a major problem around the globe. We have about 1,000 people a day drown somewhere around the planet.
1,000 people a day?
1,000 people, and that's probably an underestimation. It works out about 360,000, but they think it's probably closer to 1.2 million. In Ireland, you are losing about 130 people a year. You lose a child about every 6 weeks to drowning. It's the second or third most common cause of accidental death. And so that's been my primary focus, and that's really what brought me over here yesterday to work with the Lifesaving Foundation, and I'm very honoured to receive the Ireland Medal, which was a recognition of the work in that particular area, and also to do today with my inaugural lecture as a visiting professor at WIT. So it's been a whistle-stop tour. I have to go back this afternoon, but it's been really worthwhile, and I'm really looking forward to this collaboration with WIT.
I'll talk a little bit about the more specifics in a minute. What's going to happen now, Michael, in terms of this collaboration, this new dynamic, I suppose?
Well, the next plan is, after Professor Tipton's visit here, I intend to go over to the University of Portsmouth and we will hash out a plan in terms of how we can best use his talents. The visiting professorial scheme at WIT involves one visit annually to WIT and a public lecture. And after that, it's up to myself and Professor Tipton to negotiate a programme of interaction that may involve staff exchanges, student exchanges, but I'm particularly interested in his assistance in working with our research staff and our PhD students in terms of assisting them, mentoring them and assisting them in getting their publication rate up.
People that may not know better, Professor, will think drowning is drowning. You can't create a career about talking about drowning. Like it's... You drown, you drown. It's one of those layperson type of misconceptions. Continues sometimes to dog the coverage of this. And yet I know from talking to John and different people within, and I've written a book myself,
I've seen it,
that investigates some degree just on the surface of that. There's so much more to this.
Absolutely. I mean, historically there were fishermen were classic, who wouldn't wear a life jacket, for example, because all that was going to do if they fell overboard was prolong the agony. It was as if drowning was an inevitability. It's not an inevitability. It can be reduced in terms of number. In fact, over the 30-year period that we've been working in this area, and not because of our work necessarily, but we've seen drowning, for example, in the UK fall from about 750 to about 400 drownings a year. And what I think people need to realise is drowning is a process. And for me, that process starts with ignorance in a community. And that's why we focus our research on prevention, search and rescue, and treatment. And to some extent, you failed a bit if you get to the bit where you're doing the treatment. Because if you can empower people and educate people so that they understand the risks and they don't enter into those risks, then prevention is much better than cure in this way.
And I have prefaced this talk and this discussion with a warning that some people will be upset by this discussion, because there are people listening to this who have relatives who have drowned. This idea of, why are you talking about this? Is there some way, are we to blame, or our community to blame for this? Or our relatives to blame that we didn't insist on certain procedures regarding fishing. It could be angling, it could be children going on holidays. And John has spoken about that as well. So you can understand how difficult a topic it is sometimes, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I give around about 35 invited presentations a year all around the globe. And often the audience for those presentations include the next of kin of people who have drowned. And one thing that happens, and I think it's part of working through the process of having had somebody drown, is people want to help, they want to understand, and they want to make things better in the future. And some of the biggest advocates of drowning prevention and drowning research are those that have had, have lost their nearest and dearest to drowning. And no, it's not a matter of you've done something wrong. We're not blame storming. We're not in that process. What we're saying is that, as society evolves and as our understanding of the process of drowning evolves, we can mitigate and we can intervene at different stages to try and reduce that problem. I mean, drowning used to be something that it was all about search, rescue and resuscitation and treatment. So it was all at that end of the spectrum. And of course you could then have your rescue organisation quoting how many rescues they'd done. We've done really well this year. We've had 500 rescues or 400. And you start to think, well, if you're having to do that many, maybe we could stop this down, upstream a little bit. We could actually say, well, maybe you should be judging the quality of your preventative interventions by the smaller number of rescues and resuscitations you have to do, rather than justifying existence by the large number.
Michael, what do you think of that message?
I think it's very appropriate here in the southeast. We are so close to the coast. We use it for recreation. We use it for commerce. I think everybody along the coast. When you hear the helicopter out, or you hear of a boat that's in trouble or that has disappeared, it really resonates. It certainly resonates with me as somebody who lives along the coast.
And this idea of working with the Lifesaving Foundation, collaborating in some sort of a structured way. I know we were talking to John about the library as well. How can the professor's message be rolled out there into the communities in a measurable way? Like, we'll talk about the metrics in a minute. What do you think?
Well,
how can WIT get involved?
Well, it was actually as a result of a research project that WIT did get involved with the Lifesaving Foundation. It was looking at the post-traumatic stress experience of first responders who come on the scene of a drowning. They're sometimes forgotten about in terms of the range of people who come across individuals who have, as part of the drowning process, sometimes the first responders and their trauma can be forgotten about. And there is a study that has just being completed at the moment that is getting the views and getting the experiences of the first responders.
Professor, that question about the metrics, again, the measurements and the going from the ivory tower of the college to actually those that are participants in activities which can unfortunately lead to drowning.
Yeah, it's a really good question because, of course, alluding to what I said earlier, it's much easier to say how many times you've launched a lifeboat or a helicopter has gone and done a rescue. It's much harder to say how many times somebody thought about something that was said or they heard and they didn't do something, so something didn't happen. And that's a real challenge. What I can say is, part of our work has been involved in public awareness campaigns such as in the RNLI's Respect the Water campaign, where people are not only have the dangers of immersion explained to them, but they also get told what to do if they find themselves in the water. The float first, rest, relax, get the first 90 seconds out the way, which are the most dangerous period of immersion. And we have had, the RNLI in particular, have had, I think now in excess of 20 unsolicited emails from people who have said, I saw that TV advert or I saw that I heard that radio advert and it changed what I did and I think it saved my life. Now, I guess an unsolicited email or a message is worth its weight in gold in that situation. But you're right, it's very hard to get strong metrics that say. But, we're currently trying to get a very simple set of messages into schools. And I know other Irish water safety organisations and the Lifesaving Foundation are doing the same. Because if you can teach kids what happens with tides, and let them understand the water. It's fine. It's difficult to imagine, but there's lots of people turn up at a beach not realising the water comes in and goes out again.
Yeah, you're right.
Those that live by the sea make the assumption that everybody knows these things.
Yeah.
There's lots of kids who don't know what a rip is, how to recognise one, or what to do in a rip. And we have lots of evidence of people getting caught in rips and turning around and trying to swim straight back to the shore, becoming exhausted and dying. Whereas if they'd have swum 5 metres left or right, they'd have been out of it. What to do when you first go into cold water? Rest, relax, get your breathing back under control. Just those 3 things from the analysis of accidents would make an enormous difference. Now, if somebody's heard what I've just said and they remember that, that's a life-saving message they'll take with them from the rest of their life. What we're proving at the moment is that you can teach that to 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. Their water safety knowledge will improve and they'll retain that information because we're testing them before and after the assembly or the lesson, and we're testing them 3 months later, and their water safety skills and understanding increase and stay increased. So now I can't then tell you how many of those people went on not to drown.
Yeah, of course.
But you have to make the assumption, as we do with lots of education, that this is a beneficial piece of information.
Yeah, it's like seatbelts in cars. When nobody was wearing a seatbelt in a car, there was a way of obviously measuring deaths and potentially, but with this, the reduction of deaths is one way of measuring it. And then I presume anecdotally, people will hear it, people working on coastal communities, people working in lifeguard facilities, whether it be in hotels, you'll notice it's a cultural thing as well, is it?
It is. One of the big things we're trying to get people to do is not only understand that message themselves, but start a conversation to talk to other people. Because, as I say, just a few. You've got to be careful not to overcomplicate things. It's just a few simple messages: tides, rips, cold shock, and people start talking to other people. And you're right. Eventually, you should see this reflected in a reduction in the number of drownings. But of course, that's a pretty slow evolving and debatable metric because those numbers change with weather. You have a good summer, for example. So, but it will come out in the wash over time. But it's not easy to get a very fast response.
How frustrating is it sometimes where you're trying to talk to somebody and they're saying, no, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do and I've always done this and it's never bothered me, Did you ever meet anybody like that where you're banging your head against the wall and you're thinking, come on, listen to what I'm saying?
Well, a vast majority of adolescents. Have I ever met anybody?
Yeah.
Most of the people the thing about the drowning messaging it's quite interesting because it comes from people like myself and Michael, and you're talking about WIT, etc. But actually, your target group are particularly the sort of 15 to 30-year-olds that are pretty inaccessible to academics. So that's one of the reasons that we have to be really smart about the way we get the messages across. So, publishing in the scientific literature is great for academics. There's not going to be many young men read those papers. So we have to work. And the nice thing about what we do is we're providing information, and we provide that freely, open access, and then we want all the different organisations across Ireland and across the planet, indeed, to take those messages and use them. But we've also got to be smart about getting onto TV, getting into the media. I mean, somebody asked me to write a paper for a magazine called The Lad Bible. I don't know what The Lad Bible is. I'm kind of pleased I didn't, because but apparently,
the lads read it, yeah.
That's what they read. And okay, it wasn't written in quite the prose that I would normally choose, but there it is. The message is there. And that's what we have to be smart in our messaging.
There's an area down near Tramore called the Gillamine that Michael would know very well, and you have dozens upon dozens of boys and girls on a summer's evening, jumping off this area, and it's quite safe. But again, you could imagine, Michael, a public information exercise down there, literally targeting, talking to those people. What would happen if they jumped in and they suffered cold water shock?
Cold water shock. And that came up this morning. What we have in Ireland every year is we get hot spells so infrequently that the country goes mad when we do get, and then you get particularly, and it's nearly predictable that regularly when we get periods of hot weather during the summer, you invariably get reports of drownings at some point. So I think education,
and they're needless. They're so needless. There's no need for them.
Yeah. And they're taking out a group that had so much potential.
Yeah,
you're talking about young people. And it is such a shame.
Devastation for the families.
Yeah, and I think it's all about getting them, and that's why I like the idea of getting this as a compulsory component on the school curriculum, because lots of people are doing really good things, but it ends up being a bit piecemeal. And I mean, okay, I'm not knocking things like signs, but, most adolescents are not great at reading signs. So we've got to find alternative ways of messaging. And it may be that word of mouth from, teenage advocates. You get a bunch of youngsters who are interested in this area, you train them, you get them involved, and they go out. Because teenagers are much more likely to listen to teenagers than they are to some grumpy old bloke coming along telling them not to jump in. So I don't know, we have to be smart.
We spoke about the peer influence, and you do certainly see that around the Gillamine during the summer. The risk takers.
PEER rather than PIER.
PEER, yes, PEER, where they climb the rock to see who can go the highest before they jump in, sometimes not cognizant of whether the tide is in or whether it's out, because the difference between the high tide and the low tide at the Gillamine is 2 metres. So the young adolescent certainly is a target group, the young male adolescent.
I know there's a lot more on the Lifesaving Foundation as well, and we'll put more up on our website. Michael Harrison, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Professor Tipton, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure meeting you. And please come back into us next time you're over, and we'll follow this up, OK?
Be a great pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks very much, gentlemen. Damien, it's well documented, says Sean Doherty, that many drownings of fishermen have their roots in fishery policies. We all know of cases where fishermen were forced to push themselves in their boats. Too much retrospective review of draconian fishery policy is needed. Damien, just to remind you again, England can't win the Grand Slam as they lost to France. And Christina in Dungarvan has texted, Damien, I love lamb's liver, stuffed with breadcrumbs and onions and wrapped in a rasher. Yum, yum. What do you think? A text in, Damien, the rugby is off, but 5,000 Italians still have flights and hotels booked, so are coming to Dublin for the weekend, so Temple Bar will be a breeding ground for the coronavirus. Other people talking about the amount of coronas they're going to be drunk in Temple Bar that weekend. Now, the final Business Awards report from Karen Tompkins. The last but not least, nominees of the Environmental Excellence category. The big awards night is taking place tomorrow night in the Tower Hotel, courtesy of the Waterford Chamber of Commerce and ourselves. In this category, Ashley Environmental and Chips and WIT.
The Environmental Excellence category is sponsored by KBC Bank. First of the nominees is Ashley Environmental. Ashley Environmental develops innovative environmental and bioenergy solutions. Over the past number of years, the company has worked with its European partners to develop its BioWave technology, which uses industrial microwave processing to enhance renewable biogas yields from organic wastes. Managing Director is Ken McGrath.
We're an innovation-led environmental solutions company. We have a particular focus on bioenergy, so the production of renewable biogas from organic waste streams. We started probably this journey over 10 years ago. My dad, Jim, was introduced to a research company in the UK. I was very interested in this as an idea and a concept. We got to talking, we started to look at it, that really kicked it all off. So my dad is a farmer, so he has a pig farm in Ballymena, West Waterford, and he was really interested in how he could look at ways to manage manures, slurries, and look at a way that we could convert those into renewable energy. We were really interested in the fact that you could do something different with a technology that was around. So we use our core focus is on using microwaves. So we use industrial microwaves that actually treat organic waste for the enhancement of renewable biogas. We have the highest potential per capita for renewable biogas, yet we are a complete laggard in this sector. So for us, there was a huge opportunity there, and that really excited us.
Ashley Environmental are based in Kappa in County Waterford. The business is going from strength to strength and expanding.
What we've had a lot of success with, and we've been very fortunate with, is in the EU. I think at an EU level, it's very well understood that this is the future. We use that as an avenue to really start the business, and now we're moving on to developing full commercial ready systems. Ireland is brilliant as a test bed. So as I said, the industry is really in its infancy. But at the moment, we're working with a major UK water utilities company because they're really interested in it. They have anaerobic digesters and are very keen to see how they can optimise the performance of them. And recently we've been successful with receiving funding from the government's Disruptive Technology Innovation Programme, which is a flagship programme that the government uses to develop scientific technologies with commercial application. So we're developing our technology with another company called NVP Energy, which have a very innovative wastewater treatment solution, and also NUIG to develop a fully integrated system on a large milk processing site in Ireland. We're in a position where we can grow the business due to the funding that we've taken on recently. We are hiring, and so we're really looking for process design engineers. So any of them in the Waterford area who fancy working on or would really be interested in working on new technologies at a very early stage in terms of this industry, but it has huge potential, then drop us a line at ashleyinv.com. The core markets we're looking at right now is the industrial agro-food sector, so that's the food and drink aspect of that, who have significant wastewater and environmental challenges, and also the municipal wastewater treatment sector.
Next in the category, it's And Chips. The interestingly named And Chips is located on Davids Quay in Dungarvan, and it's the brainchild of food dynamo Eunice Power. It's not even open a year, but already And Chips is making a huge name for itself, not just for its food, but for its contribution to environmental excellence.
Because our own brand is very much associated with catering and in some ways sort of high-end catering. You know, we do a lot of really nice catering for weddings and for private family events. I wanted people to know what And Chips was, and basically it's a fish and chip shop. We also sell some lovely burgers and beef burgers and chicken burgers, but our main focus is on fish and chips. And basically we're all about sustainability. So our potatoes are all produced locally. They're from Conor Lannan supplies them from Dungarvan. He gets them from local suppliers. Our fish comes from Cork, Wexford, Waterford. We use fresh fish. We use sustainable fish, and it's a very simple product, well executed. And that's, you know, that was the purpose of it, and everything made from scratch in And Chips. So whilst we're a fish and chip shop, we're not, I suppose, your run-of-the-mill fish and chip shop in that we have, our product has a lot of integrity. And we opened on Good Friday last year. We had a soft opening. Well, that's what we had planned, but we had queues at the door all weekend. And, you know, the people of Dungarvan have been very kind and very supportive to us, which we really appreciate. So we're not actually open a year yet.
The busy season is fast approaching, and Eunice is gearing up for another busy summer with And Chips.
It takes a while to get that message across, I suppose. My real passion is for people to eat fish. And so when my kids were small, you know, I used to listen to other mothers giving out about ketchup, but actually I didn't mind my kids having ketchup as long as they ate the salmon that went with it or the chicken that went with it. You know, like, I don't fight about the small things. And in Dungarvan, and, you know, we have an amazing access to fish. And as a coastal town, we should be eating a lot more fish than we do. So fish and chips is kind of a gentle way to introduce people to fish. And we also, during the summer, we're going to have other offerings coming up, such as fish pies, chowders. We have some fish cakes. But basically, every day we have 5 fish offerings on the menu, which is pretty incredible. Staff-wise, we would employ probably about 8 people or even more, you know, on a part-time basis. The height of the season, you end up having about 3 in the kitchen and 2 out front on a really busy night. At the moment, we're open 4 days a week, and come May, we'll go back to 7-day-a-week opening. It was really a passion to do something locally. You know, I'm from Dungarvan. My business is based in Dungarvan. I don't have a shop front for my business per se. We sell products through Country Store in Dungarvan, but I didn't have a shop front, and I really wanted to make a contribution to the overall sort of culinary offering in Dungarvan, and I really wanted to come in mid-market, so where people are coming to Dungarvan on their bikes for the day, if they're coming down with a family, to have that sort of mid-offering of something really nice in a beautiful location that doesn't break the bank.
Next in the category, it's WIT. Waterford Institute of Technology is a university-level institution in the southeast with over 10,000 students and 1,000 staff. With such high numbers, they see a responsibility and make a huge contribution to environmental excellence. The estates manager is Elaine Greenan.
The Estates Office look after all the maintenance and the upkeep and obviously environmental initiatives at WIT. We were awarded the SEAI Energy Team of the Year in 2017. We have a lot of initiatives in place as regards our energy use. We have energy targets set by the government, of which we had to reach 33% by 2020. We've already reached those and exceeded those, so we're at 41% at the moment. The new targets are for 50% for 2030. So as you know, we're well on our way to that, to reach that target as well. We also do initiatives with our students around Green Day. We have our Christmas Day Challenge. We've switched it off campaigns for bank holiday weekends. So we try to get our students and our staff involved as much as possible in those initiatives. As well as our campaigns to engage staff and students, we've also invested in renewable energy. We have solar PV on the roof of our business school. We've had that since 2016. We have a rolling programme of LED light replacement. We have controls on our boilers, energy upgrades in terms of insulation in buildings and to improve the comfort levels for staff and students.
Elaine says students and staff are happy to come on board with many of the initiatives to improve sustainability and make a real difference towards climate change.
I think if the infrastructure isn't there for people, they won't engage in it. You know, we've done a lot of work around relabelling our bins, so it's easy to find which bin to put your waste into. A part of our Green Day last year, we did an initiative about different items and which bin should they be placed into, so that we can help segregate our waste at source, and that helps with our recycling campaign as well. I think everybody wants to make sure the planet is here as long as possible, and if there's small things that we can do to do that, I think most people want to engage in it. Our approach to environmental management doesn't just focus on energy. We've just installed water fountains in all our buildings so that people can come and fill up their water bottles, therefore reducing the amount of plastic that's generated on campus. Obviously that will reduce our waste as well. The students in particular have huge positive feedback from that initiative alone, so that makes you kind of want to do that a little bit more, you know, since we've got such positive feedback. Like I said, we will be hopefully to invest in more renewable energy on our campus and more initiatives to get people on board in terms of energy awareness and engagement.
And those are your nominees in the Environmental Excellence category. Tomorrow night, the Waterford Business Awards take place at the Tower Hotel. Best of luck to all the nominees.
Now, thank you everybody for your texts and comments and involvement in the show today. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Julie, for producing. Jeff is up next. We will talk to you tomorrow, and tomorrow is the last day before the leap day. If you have anything interesting and happening on Saturday, if you were proposed to on a Saturday on a leap day, let us know. 083 333 975. Have a great day.